Let's say you want to improve hamstring flexibility and limb range of motion about and around the hamstring and involving the hamstring. You would want to do 3 sets of static stretching for the hamstring. You would do that by holding the stretch for 30 seconds, resting some period of time, then doing it again, holding for 30 seconds, resting some period of time, and then holding it for 30 seconds. You get 90 seconds, and you would do that ideally 5 times a week or maybe even more. In general, to avoid injury, it's a good idea to raise your core body temperature a bit before doing these kinds of stretches, even these static stretches, which we can sort of ease into and don't involve ballistic movement by definition. And the basic takeaway that I was able to find was that if we are already warm from running or from weight training or from some other activity, that doing the static stretching practice at the end of that weight training or cardiovascular or other physical session would allow us to go immediately into the stretching session because we're already warm, so to speak. Otherwise, raising one's core body temperature by a bit by doing 5 to 7, maybe even 10 minutes of easy cardiovascular exercise or calisthenic movements, provided you can do those without getting injured, seems to be an ideal way to warm up the body for stretching. We should be warm or warm up to stretch, although those warm-ups don't have to be extremely extensive. And then just by way of logic, doing the static stretching after resistance training or cardiovascular training seems to be most beneficial. In fact, and unfortunately we don't have time to go into this in too much detail today, I was able to find a number of papers that make the argument that static stretching prior to cardiovascular training and maybe even prior to resistance training can limit our performance in running and resistance training. To leave all that aside, doing static stretching after some other form of exercise, and if not after some form of exercise, after a brief warm-up to raise your core body temperature, definitely seems like the right way to go. I'm guessing that most people are not doing 5 days a week of dedicated static stretch, range of motion directed training, but it does appear that frequency about the week, getting those repeated sessions, even if they are short for an individual muscle group, turns out to be important.